Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another Premier Draft of Khans of Tarkir. Without further ado, let's slam dunk our pack 1 pick 1 rare. That is the Butcher of the Horde. 1, a red, a white, and a black for a 5/4 with flying, so a difficult mana cost to hit with 3 different colors, but a massive creature for that cost that also has the flexibility of sacrificing other creatures you control to gain a keyword ability of your choice: Vigilance, Lifelink, or Haste. So really powerful, really beefy creature, especially for this format, for that mana cost. I think Butcher of the Horde looks insane and is definitely a reason to push into Mardu as our 3-color pair. So let's roll with that Butcher, see where to go from there. For pack 1 pick 2, there is no mana fixing on color in terms of non-basic lands. We do want to take those really highly, starting off with a 3-color rare, but again, this is not on color with our rare, so we'll go to the next best card, which is easily the fantastic Arc Lightning removal spell. This is very efficient at clearing out basically anything. Just killing one early game creature with this is always fine. Anything that costs like 4 or less mana in this format usually has 3 or less toughness, and sometimes you get a really good deal where your opponent has a 1/1 Firehoof Cavalry and a face-down Morph creature that's a 2/2 while it's face down, and you can kill 2 things with it, so happy to take Arc Lightning. Pick 3, another sad one mana fixing-wise. Black-green is not on color for us, but there are some decent on-color spells. Leaping Master to get curving out with efficient creatures. This card's fine because it can jump into the sky once your opponent establishes defenses, and 2 mana 2/1s do attack into your opponent's 3 mana 2/2 Morph creatures, so it gets in that first attack without really needing to activate, usually. Alabaster Kieran's another card that has been pretty impressive. It's played a lot better than it looks just because that stat line lines up so well against the 2 mana 2/1s and 3 mana 2/2s of the set. There's also Rush of Battle, which works great if you have a super wide board state, which is one of the things that Mardu can do. It's the trio with some token production, so I think any of these 3 are pretty reasonable. Let's go with the... no, I'll go with the Alabaster Kieran here, I think. Pack 1 pick 4, off-color duel yet again, and there's also a Trail of Mystery. So Trail of Mystery is a really nice build around for those 3+ color morph decks, because then every time you morph a creature, you're also pulling a land out of your deck, and when you flip them up, they're getting a buff, which is awesome. It's a completely different direction than a Butcher of the Horde deck, awkwardly. But if we get to go all 5 colors, I guess, by playing a bunch of morph creatures, then that Trail of Mystery can find us the colors we need to cast Butcher, just as a finisher. I'm going to be a bit speculative here. If we were taking something on color, it'd just be like a kill shot, I guess. So it's not like there's anything great in Mardu out of this pack regardless, so we'll speculate towards the Morph deck, getting the biggest reason to be in that deck, which is Trail of Mystery, out of that pack. For pack 1 pick 5, we've got the pretty hard to cast Jeskai Charm, but it's a pretty solid spell. All of the charms are pretty solid and flexible, but real hard to cast, especially because the ways that we're likely to go here are a Morph deck that's green and blue at the core, splashing in all the other colors, or just a straight red, white, black deck. I don't really want to go red, white, black, and splash blue, and if I'm green, blue at the core, then this is only castable when we've hit the red and the white off the splash. Yeah. Don't think we are going to be able to fit a Jeskai Charm in here, so I'll just take the hyper-efficient Aggro Dork of Monastery Swiftspear. That'll fit excellently into a Mardu deck. A red, white, black deck. Pack 1 pick 6, Valley Dasher fits really well into those Mardu aggro decks, so just one speculative pick of the Trail of Mystery here, but we might be able to stick to the Butcher. Actually, this is our first on-color duel we've seen if we're going the Butcher the Horde direction. I do think I need to pick these really highly based on what happened with our last Mardu deck, where we just ended up with no fixing towards getting all 3 colors in a little more easily. So I'll take the fixing here, actually. Pick 7, ooh, Mardu Skull Hunter's a really nice 2-drop. You ideally want to have attacked with a creature to get the raid ability off this, but if you can get that, then this is insane. 2 mana for 2/1 and your opponent discards a card. It's just a bigger, beefier version of all the 2-mana 1/1s that make your opponent discard a card that we've seen throughout the years. Happy to take a Skull Hunter. The one thing that's awkward about it is usually you want the core of your deck to be 2 colors, and you want them to be 2 enemy colors. The enemy colors in the Mardu trio are red, white, or white, black. And if I take Skull Hunter, I'm 2 cards deep into red, 1 card deep into black, and we want this to be in one of our core colors because it's so cheap to cast. So we don't want to have to wait to get our splash color to hit it. So we might end up in like red, black at the core splashing the white, which is kind of a weird spot to be out of these 3 colors. Pick number 8, nothing good for red, black, white here, nothing good for Mardu. So I'll take the Trail of Mystery card, the Snowhorn Rider, for that deck. Pick number 9. Smite the Monstrous is kind of narrow, but there are beefy creatures in this format. I don't think Bloodfire Mentor, Barrage of Boulders, or Sage Eye Harrier are exciting at all, though. There's a Rugged Highlands, I guess, if we're going 5-color Trail of Mystery. I think I'd rather speculate towards that than take the Smite the Monstrous. And there's another duel. Although Firehoof Cavalry is reasonable for Mardu aggro to give us a 1-mana creature we can play to attack in and trigger our raid cards on turn 2. So if we end up like white, black, splash the red, this could be a good way to get our Skull Hunters going. I think I'd rather take that than speculating towards 5 colors still. Although when there's nothing good for our deck, we'll take the 5-color nonsense. And let us see how pack 2 shapes up for us. Well, an on-color rare that is completely absurd. The High Sentinels of Erishin. 4 mana for a 3/4 flyer that gets +1/+1 for each other creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. And you can spend 4 mana to put those counters on your creatures, which is almost like putting 2 +1/+1 counters on the board because you're buffing both the Sentinels and whatever you put the counter on. Card's completely busted. That's a very easy pick. Pack 2, pick 2. Scoured Barrens for another duel. Could try to splash in Abzan Charm, but ideally we're just going 3 colors and just going Mardu here, because it's the most aggressive of the 3-color pairs. So I don't think we want to dirtle with our mana base too much towards a 4th color here. I'm going to take the Scoured Barrens. Stick to our 3 colors, ideally. Now it's looking like maybe red-white at the core, splash the black can be our plan. 1 non-creature spell, and that's Arc Lightning right now. So probably looking for more interaction. I guess for now, Mardu Banner is going to be filler, but it's going to go on the deck for now. Pack 2, pick 3. I like Einok Bondkin a decent amount, and Bellowing Saddlebrute is just a beefy creature for the cost. But they're competing with arguably the best common in the format, the absurd combat trick of Feat of Resistance, and great fixing with Windscarred Crag. This is a beautiful pack for us. Crag, Skull Hunter, Saddlebrute, Bondkin, and Feat of Resistance are all cards we'd be super happy to have in our deck. I suppose since we did just take a peek, and if you don't count the Mardu banner, we have nothing but creatures and 1 Arc Lightning right now. With those kind of counts, we probably take the very premium non-creature spell here over another solid creature. I think that's fine. And over the fixing on that one. All right, solid non-creature with the Russia Battle, but that is Nomad Outpost, which is the perfect fixing for this deck. The on-color Triome, beautiful. Pick 5. I like the War Shrieker a lot at 4 mana. A decent amount of 3-mana spells in this format, especially when you've got some Morphs in your deck. All of those are 3-mana spells, so you just get an attack in on turn 4, you dump this out and slam down a Morph alongside it. Especially when you're in Mardu, when you're in red, white, and black, like, you can definitely cast something off the raid trigger of this. And it just helps you commit to the board real quickly and real early. I'm going to take that over the solid 1-drop little Hate Blade. This time I might take the Hate Blade. Hate Blade versus Valley Dasher is definitely some real competition here. Hate Blade's just a little 1-mana creature to help you get your raid triggers early. That makes sure that it's relevant throughout the game, because whenever you have your black source, you always know it can trade up into something. I like either of these. I think I probably want to get a little more aggressive and take the 2-drop here, though. In the end, pick 7. Dragon Throne's a lot of mana, and you have to lock down one of your creatures for it, but it is a pretty huge buff. I don't think we're really missing much by taking it. We're not like a great token deck for this Russia battle. We're not doing super good at getting a massively wide board state here, so I might speculate on that Dragon Throne. I don't even know if I'm going to end up trying to run it. I feel like I want to try it out at least once before I completely write it off. But it might be too slow. We'll see. Our mana curve here is looking awkward right now. We're definitely looking for more 1 and 2 mana creatures, ideally. Because this is a chunk of 4 drops. They're very good ones, but there's a lot of them. Very happy with our mana base. Grab a 3-drop here, I guess. I mean, 1 toughness is so low, even with prowess. Maybe I'd rather take a smite. Swift kick I just don't think is good, unless you're like green-red where you have really high toughness. So much mana and your creature probably dies in that fight. A chunk of the time. Do not like Mardu Blazebringer at all, but could be our filler in the end. We don't get enough playables. Get these Russia battles nice and late. If we do get some of those token producers to have a really wide board state, then now we've got access to that. And we'll see how we wrap things up with pack number 3. For pack 3, pick 1, we got a dirtily little 2-drop. Or we have yet another solid 4-drop. We need a lot of mana value 2 or less creatures for this card to function, but if we have them, that's a really spicy line of text there. 4 mana 3/2 plus a 2-drop alongside it. It's a big 2 for 1. I'm gonna take the Horde Mate here and really hope to get lucky with some more premium 2-drops than just Sky Student. Hooded Hydra is a fantastic card, but we have ended up not in green, sadly, so we don't get to play around with the super powerful Mythic. Pack 3, pick 2, there we go. We found a premium 2-drop. It is competing with a red-white duel, for sure, but we really need those premium 2-drops, not only for the mana curve for our more aggressive deck, but also to go with that timely Horde Mate we just picked up. Let's grab that Seeker of the Way here and be very happy with that. This rare is also insane, but we're not in blue. Just you flip it up, you counter your opponent's spell and cast it against them for free. Gross. Pack 3, pick 3. There's an Einok Bondkin versus a Valley Dasher. Or Scoured Barons, but I think we have firmly got to the point where we need cheap creatures over anything. I'm going to take the Einok Bondkin, I think. Obviously, the fact that the Valley Dasher has to attack into 2/3s and stuff is quite a big downside to it. The Bondkin has a decent downside of just being really slow. You have to spend 2 mana and dump that into it before it starts attacking, but then a 3/2 first strike's massive, so take the Bondkin. Pick 4. We're definitely looking red, white, splash, black. We have 2 black spells, so I don't think we're taking Disowned Ancestor, even though I think it's a decent card. Take the Mystic Monastery, or another Bondkin, or our first Hate Blade. I think I'll roll with another Bondkin. Be fine with that. More solid 2-drops here. Poof. And here's a premium one, the Seeker of the Way. Now I kind of wish I just took the red-white duel last pack, because we're getting to enough 2-drops now. 5 of them I think is decent for this kind of deck. And this will be our 6th. Yeah, I would have rather had 2 Seekers, 1 Bondkin, and 1 more red-white duel than 2 Bondkin, 2 Seekers, and no more red-white duels. It happens. Pick 6. Arrow Storm is a phenomenal finisher. You can shoot your opponent in the face for 5 with it, and when you're not in a position to do that, you just clear out a blocker. It's a perfectly reasonable removal spell. I think Arrow Storm's great for this kind of deck, and I'll take it over the Leaping Master. Empty the Pits is a really cool card, but it's really hard to cast it in this format, because so many of the decks are going to be 3 colors plus, so hitting quadruple black is not something a lot of decks can do consistently. Alright, 3 mana 2/2 Sage-Eye Harrier. Pick 8. Is this even good? This is literally just Mirror Force. I don't think that's very good. I don't think I'm running Jeskai Student. I don't think I'm running this either, but I can at least rare draft it, I guess. We do get that Valley Dasher back, so we can still run that if we want to. Some nonsense to wrap it up. Just start rare drafting some higher rarity stuff. Oh, we do get the Hate Blade back. That's nice. Get that Jeskai Student back. Again, our creature's just not beefy for fights. I think Swift Kick is just very bad. I think even if it were like modern removal spells where it would be +1/+0 and then deals damage equal to its power to another creature, it would still just be okay. The fact that it's 4 mana and it still has to fight, so it still takes damage from whatever it's fighting there, is so rough. I just don't think Swift Kick has a lot of homes in this format. I don't think blue-red or red-white can use it well, because their creatures just don't fight all that well. But Teamer, red, green, blue, that color trio can use it. And that's like the only spot for those Swift Kicks. So we're at 44 cards if we run 17 lands. 20 creatures, 7 non-creatures. We've got a few creatures. Maybe one of these non-creature spells. I mean, I guess, haven't played with the Dragon Throne yet. We could try it out here. Cut a Mardu banner or a Rush of Battle instead, because I don't think we get the widest board states for this Rush of Battle, and I just don't think any of the banners are super great. Obviously, they do help hit the correct colors of mana, but 3 mana Mana Rocks have just historically been quite a hefty cost to not impact the board. In this format, it hurts a little less, I think, than like if these existed in a modern limited format, I think they'd be completely unplayable. I still just don't think they're very good in this set. So it's on the chopping block. Maybe the Smite as well. Card is definitely narrow, but it's fine against the green decks. Yeah, some combination of these gets cut. Find our most mediocre creatures. At 1 mana, that's the Cavalry. 4 mana is a lot to buff this thing. That's just like the extra bonus it gets to not be a literal just 1 mana, 1/1. I feel like the Hate Blade and the Swift Spear are much better. You only need to hold 1 mana up to make sure the Hate Blade can always trade profitably, versus the 4 to start doing things with Cavalry. At 2 mana, Jeskai Student's a bit dirtily. Skull Hunter's probably a bit hard to cast, like it's because black is our splash here, but I still think the card itself is good. And then the Valley Dashers do have that problem of attacking into 2/3s and dying. Like forced attacks into having them die can be an issue. At 3 mana, Blazebringer only attacking or blocking once is just so bad. That is the worst 3-drop. Even though I'm not a big fan of these morphs either, we only get to cut 4 cards here, so we have to leave some amount of the filler nonsense in here. I think those are better 3-drops. And at 4 mana, I think all these cards are better than the cheaper stuff that we're cutting, but just for mana curve purposes, we might cut an Alabaster Kieran or 2. But I think all our 4-drops are better than everything in the pile on the right now. Okay. 4 cuts. Potentially we only cut 3 cards if we want to play a 16 land deck, but we have a lot of 4-drops. We have these morphs that also flip it like 4 mana as well. So those are potentially more 4-drops, and we are playing 3 colors. So by cutting 1 land, we're cutting another land of whichever color. So it makes the mana base a little bit worse towards getting all 3 colors as well. I'm pretty chill. Going for a full 17 here. So how about we do it this way? We'll just like build the deck up from the cards from the right based on what it looks like we could use the most. It's definitely not Blazebringer, I don't imagine. That I'm going to pull that over. Yeah. Well, we don't really need any of these. So that concept is out the door. So I guess I'll just drag the worst ones to the right like I was initially going to do. Probably the banner then. Blazebringer and the banner. And then Jeskai Student. Cavalry. Yeah. Not in love with this. The mana curve is a bit weird, and there is some filler in the deck. But we have some cards that are really high quality, like Butcher the Horde, and some Seeker of the Ways. Feat of Resistance, Arrow Storm to try to make up for that. Yeah, still looks solid to me. We're at 14 white cards, 8 red and 2 black. We're at, thanks to our dual lands and triomes, 9 white sources, 8 red sources, and 4 black sources. That sounds good with me. We will call it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at the final deck list for today. It's another little Mardu aggro deck here. Our mana curve isn't the greatest. It's a pile of 2-drops and a pile of 4-drops, but we've got some really high card quality out of some of the individual spells here. Butcher the Horde being absolutely massive. Couple Seekers the Way that are some of the best prowess cards in the format, alongside Monastery Swiftspear, one of the best aggro 1-drops printed. We've got a phenomenal flexible removal spell with the Arc Lightning, as well as a decent removal spell plus finisher with an Arrow Storm, the fantastic combat trick of Feat of Resistance, and yet another bomb, the High Sentinels of Arishan, alongside the Butcher of the Horde. So some cards in here that are incredible, and some filler across the curve to fill the deck out. We'll see how it all plays out for us as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for game 1 on the draw. Big fan of this hand. It's got perfect mana, it starts the game on turn 2, and it might even get a raid trigger off the Skull Hunter. Dropping that on turn 3 over the Morph. Opponent starts with a red-green dual land. Red, green, blue, some teamer stuff. Ooh, the turn 2 Secret Plans. Incredible stuff. Secret Plans, a card we used a couple times in our first 2 drafts. It was consistently good. The one issue with it is it's a really bad top deck late in the game, but if you can resolve that turn 2 and just start jamming down Morphs, you can get a ton of value off of it. And if our opponent jams down a Morph here, we're actually going to have a really bad time, because then our Valley Dasher has to just attack into it. Luckily, we've got the Skull Hunter to still get raid value when doing that, but we will just lose our Valley Dasher. They play a Morph here. Singing Bell Strike. Okay, that's fine. We are very happy to see them not have a Morph immediately after the Secret Plans. That is really helpful for us. So the mana base doesn't allow us to Swift Spear Skull Hunter here, sadly, so I think I just Morph for now. Because I'm not going to play the Skull Hunter without getting the raid trigger. So if I don't Morph this turn, I'm just playing a Swift Spear and a Scoured Barrens instead. I think just playing the Morph is better. Okay. There's a 2/3 Morph from our opponent. So I need to play an untapped land here, so if they block, I flip our Morph, and if they don't block, we cast the Skull Hunter. Okay, no block. So, Skull Hunter it is. A little awkward to have had to play the untapped land to get that attack in with the Morph, because that means that I don't have a black source from the Scoured Barrens to be able to cast like 2 non-white spells next turn. You can still only cast 1 non-white spell on turn 5. So, well, we have all our colors, but a lot of white sources. All right, opponent passes the turn. Nomad Outpost is very helpful. They have 4 mana up because they can crack this, get an untapped land. So they can have a 4 mana flip here. A 4 mana flip shouldn't be able to beat a 5/2, so I think we're still jamming in. Oh, wait, no. Never mind. Secret Plans has more text, right? Oh, no, that's the other one. Dang it. I got mixed up with my rare. The Trail of Mysteries is the one that gives their morphs +2/+2 when they flip them up. I was going to say, if they had the one that gives +2/+2 when they flip it up, then definitely we couldn't get a good attack in here. Yeah, I probably could have chipped in for 2 damage then. I don't think they would have blocked. Because it's not until 5 mana that you get morphs that flip into beating 2/2s. And obviously I already attacked into it last turn, so they know that I can flip into at least like a 3/2 with this thing. So now that they have 5 mana up, they could flip this into like a 4/3 first striker, just eat one of my creatures for free, draw a card off the Secret Plans. But honestly, most of these creatures aren't going to accomplish much more than chump attacking to get the rest of my field in. So I think I actually do just drop the Valley Dasher here and send in the whole team then. One of these is trump attacking in to let the rest deal a bunch of damage to my opponent. Okay, let's see what you got. I kind of have to show what I have first, because I need to present lethal to their 2/3. Jeskai Charm it is. Bounce the Canyon Lurkers, so we know their face down is not good enough to beat a 5/2. Our opponent is down to 10 now. They're just going to flip up main phase to draw the card. Okay, it's a 4/5. 5 to drop the Canyon Lurkers. So now they're going to eat the Valley Dasher for free and take a chunk of damage. Sure. Valley Dasher already has to attack anyway, so we might as well attack with everybody else to guarantee we lock that damage in here. And next turn I can untap the other Valley Dasher from the Singing Bell Strike. It is 6 mana to do so. But that'll get it attacking. They just have a Jeskai banner here. 3 of their mana is just being spent to not impact the board in terms of blockers. 2 on a Teamer Charger. Do they have another 2 mana creature? If not, I think this might be lethal. Ooh, 2 mana creature and 2 mana removal spell is good. So they block here, take 3. No, even better, right? Like if I... Shoot. Yeah, this is bad, because now they just trade Charger for the Lurkers. So if I untap here and attack all, Charger for Lurkers, and they eat the Valley Dasher for free, take 3, go to 2. I'm down to 2 creatures left on board. I guess I still do this, right? Because then if I draw a non-creature spell, that's lethal next turn. Because they have 1 blocker against 2 creatures with potentially 2 power. Alright, I just cast a non-creature and the Swift Spear Prowess trigger would lethal our opponent. Come on, top deck. And I guess we have some burn spells in here that would just kill our opponent. We've got our 5/4 flyer that we can give haste by sacking one of these. We've got our Arrow Storm to shoot our opponent for 4. That is not a non-creature spell. If we did top deck a non-creature spell, they'd just be dead. Now Oh, I guess they played a tap land to gain 1, so they still wouldn't be dead. Yeah, now we're not attacking. We sack a 2/1 to deal a single damage to our opponent. That's not worth it. They're already dead to all of our burn spells if we top deck one of those. So we don't need to hit them for a little more to try to get them in reach of anything. Timely Horde Mates. Interesting. So I attack with all 3 of these, poke them for 1, and then realistically just lose 1 creature. It's probably not horrible because I can pick up the Skull Hunter and make them discard one of their cards here. Because they're just going to kill the 2 power creatures for sure. The Seeker and the Skull Hunter. So we can Horde Mate back the Skull Hunter. So poke them for 1. Maintain an evenly sized board state and make them discard a card. Discard a Rush of Battle. Well, if they had any warriors, we're happy to have made them discard that. Because that could have gained them some life. Oof. Bunch of goblins. Now we're all in on burn spells. Or flyers. We've got flyers as well. There's another Alabaster Kieran. There's our bomb rare flyer, the 3/4 that puts counters on things. And there's our other bomb rare flyer, the one that can give itself haste and just immediately kill my opponent. So we have a lot of outs that just immediately kill our opponent. We have at least like 5, I think, in this deck. Aerostorm, Kieran, the 2 different bomb rare flyers. That's 4 that I can think of immediately. Arc Lightning works, that's a 5th. At least 5 of the 23 cards are definite game enders here. A couple are just, well, 3 of them immediately kill our opponent. 2 of them kill our opponent if they don't have removal on their next turn. Einok Bondkin is not any of those cards. Not particularly good here. I think basically a literal quarter of our deck is win conditions. It is almost instant lethal. Spellstrike the Bondkin? That is actually pretty good for me, I think. Because then I could Outlast it and untap it in the same turn. It's like Outlast while still having it up as a blocker. If I just top deck another land, then that's not a downside at all. Spend the 2 to give it a +1/+1 counter first strike, then spend the 6 to untap it, so I've got it up on blocks as a first striker. Not that that's like great for me or anything, I just don't think it really changes this game at all, which is nice. That is not a bad one. Got the 6 mana to threaten to untap this, or the Smite if we want to do that instead. We might have a Mistfire Weaver face down here. That's a flyer that flips face up and gives one of their creatures hexproof till end of turn to save it from the Smite. Think I still just go for it here? Maybe not. If they attack with a Morph, I think I block a Morph with a 3/2 and hold the Smite to see what happens when it flips up. Alright, they attack with just that. I think I Smite then. Show me the hexproof flipper. They're looking at their hands. This might just be a straight up counter spell. Oh, the Feat of Resistance, the greatest combat trick ever printed. Not really, but still an incredible card. Premium, premium, premium common. Down to 9. Still plenty of ways to insta-kill our opponent in the deck. Flip the Weapon Master to hit for 3 more. Oh, it's got protection from white, so they don't even get to buff it. It's not hexproof from white, it's protection from white. So we just get to know what the Weapon Master is at least, which is something. I could untap this and outlast it again. I think I might have to have it up as a blocker at this point, down to 9. So I don't know if I can afford to do that. Yeah, let's just hold up the untap, I guess. Got to the point now that we are all in on one of those 5+ lethal draws. So I think we are chumping some damage at this point. Probably doing this, get to see what that morph is. Six, 7, all right. It's taken me so long to hit this that it's quite likely they have removal by now. So I might as well vigilance attack with this thing. Trade into the Weapon Master or untap it on blocks if they chump with a 1/1. Wait, no, I shouldn't have done this, because if I trade with Weapon Master, that means I don't get to chump a 5/6 instead of a 4/3 with this. Yeah, that was a punt. But I imagine it doesn't matter. Most likely. We'll see. So, if I hadn't made that attack, I could have chumped the 5/6 and taken 7 here instead of 8. We'll see. If they can only do 1 extra point of damage to me here, then it did matter that I went for the attack. Let's see. But everything about our block there stays the same. It's just that I'm chumping a 5/6 instead of trading into a 4/3. I guess I would have had the breathing room to play around 1 damage to Alabaster Kieran by blocking a 1/1 instead of a 2/1. So if they do 1 damage to Kieran to finish it off, then it also mattered. Trading into the 4/3 on attacks instead of going for blocks. It doesn't feel like removal from our opponent. I feel like if they had an easy, quick victory here, they would have cast it by now. We might be getting there. Would be surprising. It would definitely be surprising. Well, we're getting fully roped now, so I think that we got there off the Alabaster Kieran. Showing up the literal last possible opportunity. If it showed up 1 turn later, we'd just be dead. I think our opponent has just left the game. Our opponent has run out of timers to rope with, and we are 1-0 starting off this draft. Here we are for game number 2. I think I have to keep this for mana reasons. Having the perfect mana is a huge selling point in a 3-color format, but the lack of creatures here is really awkward. We have multiple spells that want us to have a lot of creatures and 1 creature in the hand. So we gotta draw well here. Despise, make us discard a creature. Okay, pretty narrow discard spell, but it works fine here. Playing against green-black, they've got their turn 3 Morph. We're just hitting a bunch of lands over here. Definitely looking for creatures. About to play a Horde Mate just as a 4-mana 3/2. It's going to be real sad. Bitter Revelation. Our opponent's setting up some draws here. Losing a couple life to dig in deep. Mardu Hateblade. You're a little late, friend. I'm just going to drop down a 3/2 now. We've got the 5 mana to flip something up that just eats our Horde Mate, like the 2/5 Reach or something like that. So I will not be blocking. Sultai Scavenger, solid flyer from our opponent. And an Alpine Grizzly. Okay. These are both warriors, which is cute. For that rush of battle, but I'm pretty sure we're going to have to start trading on blocks. Bunch of green, man. I like the idea of holding this up. Dragon Throne just never gets cast then, though. If I'm not plopping it down now. Yeah, I just don't think we're in a position to toy around with the Dragon Throne. I probably should have just mulliganed this hand. These 3 non-creature spells are just all narrow and awkward. So we get to offer the trade, and because I held all the mana up, they can't like combat trick and win here, or I just smite the 4/2 in response to 2-for-1 them. Heir of the Wilds, 2/2 Death Toucher, sure. And another one. Okay. Another land for us. Well, not good. My Hateblade can trade into one thing, and then I'm just dying pretty quickly at now. Take 7 or trade into a 2/2 Death Touch. Oof, 4/5 from our opponent. Block one thing, take 7 on board. Depending on how big the morph is, we're completely gone. I guess I had the mana to play this face down and flip it up since I didn't have anything to do with the extra 2 mana anyway. Although that would happen either way, and we're super dead. Probably just should have mulliganed this one. I got very excited about the correct colors of mana. I'm like, we can probably draw into creatures, right? Kind of just didn't. And the non-creature spells in this hand were really bad and really awkward in it. So massive, massive points against Russia Battle Smite the Monstrous and Dragon Throne this time. Massive points against those 3 as underperformers. Here we are for game number 3 with only 2 of our colors, but some really nice spells. And they start nice and early too, so I'm going to keep this hand. Red-white mirror match, and they miss their 3rd land, which can be massive in this format. So we're just holding up our feet of resistance if they try to kill any of our cards. And then we drop the High Sentinels next turn. Oh, this is going to be the worst Arc Lightning they've ever cast, if it's an Arc Lightning. Oh, RIP, my friend. GG. Yeah, I would probably concede too. That is devastating. So, I mean, the game was obviously not over yet, but if they didn't concede right there, I imagine when we cast the High Sentinels the next turn, that would be the deal sealer. So, game wasn't literally over, but that put us really far ahead, because then the prowess trigger on the Seeker made it 3 toughness to survive the 2 damage, and the Feet of Lightning protecting the Hate Blade from the 1 damage. They both stay on the board, they lose the Arc Lightning for nothing, and then I slam down a High Sentinels, which is already a 4/5 flyer, because we'd have a Hate Blade with a +1/+1 counter on it at that point. Be really hard for our opponent to come back from that one, so they were already over it before they even saw the Sentinels. We are now 2-1, heading into game number 4. Here we are for game 4 with perfect mana and the MVP Seeker of the Way, starting things off turn 2 with the MVP Feat of Resistance as a backup. I like the hand. Seeker into Hold Up Feat into Alabaster Kieran, but we drew into our bomb rare, so now it's going to be Seeker, Hold Up Feat of Resistance, cast Butcher of the Horde, turn 4. Mardu Blazebringer, not a big fan of that card. But it works fine as a blocker, actually. That's probably where it's the best, right? You can trade it off on blocks and feel fine with it, which is so weird for a Mardu card. Mardu cards are supposed to be aggressive. Do I hate trading Feat of Resistance for Mardu Blazebringer? Not really. I think that's a fine trade. This will gain 4 life in the process as well, which is nice. I'm even happier if they don't block. I don't really think it matters if they attack with this thing. But maybe just having it on board so they have a 4-power creature is good for them. Oh my god, Feat of Resistance is so gross. Surprise! Actually, I'm gonna kill your creature. Actually, that's not how it works. We're not gonna kill the Blazebringer because this is gonna fall off if I go pro-red, and if I don't go pro-red, then our Seeker will die in the fight. Yeah, so it's actually not going to kill Blazebringer, because the fight won't resolve anymore. Never mind. It was still nice countering the removal spell. But not as good as I wanted it to be, where we also just win the fight, and it's completely disgusting. Here's Butcher. I will not sack a Seeker of the Way just for a haste swing here. Face down card. Hello. Well, got a smite up if the face down ends up being big. If it isn't, we just hit for 5 and then play an Alabaster Kieran. Keep getting more flyers. Force away, just bounce that. Sure. Can't sack for hexproof, no. Well, Butcher's back. Guess who's back? Back again. Butcher's back. Tell your friends. Oh, you can sack a creature at instant speed for this. That's pretty nice. That can be relevant against certain cards that are like destroy a creature and make a 1/1 or something like that. What? Well, and that's a 1-for-1 removal spell, because the Blazebringer still sacrifices itself even if it has indestructible. So that's fine. They just kill the Butcher, the Horde, but they still lose the Blazebringer, so they basically spent Roar of the Challenge to kill the Butcher, and that's all it got. So, 1-for-1 removal. It works. Solid draw. Honestly, 1 card in their hand. I'm going to go for this rather than playing an Alabaster Kieran. Let's get that last card out of there. Alright, well, it's just a forest. Still think it was worth a shot. You never know when they're down to the last card. No! Why didn't you have the Arrow Storm in hand and then top deck the forest? My rude opponents. Hitting their cards in the correct sequence. I'm not going to Arrow Storm the Morph, and I'm not going to Arrow Storm their face until it's lethal, so we just drop a Kieran. I'm going to try to start looking at all the morphs at the end of the game, so we can see what they are each time. Okay, that was not correct sequencing. You wait till after I declare blocks, just in case you get to kill my Kieran for free. Okay, 12 life, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's not lethal. And prowessing the Arrow Storm or post-combating the Arrow Storm are the exact same amount of damage either way, so... They're down to 7 and we have an Arrow Storm in hand. I feel like I chump block to play it safe. Because they could have like Become Immense for +6/+6. It'd be 13 damage if I don't block. Okay, if they don't block, I don't even have to worry about that predicament. Send in the squad in case this is a flying blocker. I don't think so. Even if this is a flying blocker, we still kill them. We hit for 2 and then we shoot for 5. And it is not a flying blocker. So it is game. We are now 3-1. At least a 50-50 run from this deck as we head into game number 5. Here we are for game 5. That Nomad Outpost is pulling a lot of weight here. But we do have a curve, 2-drop, 3-drop, and our 4-drop is flipping up the lurkers. A little high on lands, but I think this is a very reasonable way to start things off. Mardu Skull Hunter turn 2, just to get aggressive from our opponent. Our first 2 draws are lands, which is just not what we wanted to see with this opener. Okay. I was going to see if they jammed out another Skull Hunter. I was going to be like, at least it plays well against more Skull Hunters, if that's their game plan here. Butcher of the Horde is exactly what we want to see. We're really just looking for more gas, more creatures to beat down with, and getting our biggest beat stick is pretty nice. Biggest beat stick in the deck. There's a Mardu Warshiger. Ooh, dump the hand real quick with that extra 3 mana. Ooh, yeah, 6 stuff from the Warshrieker there. Speaking of Warshrieker, we've got one, but we can't do anything with it this turn anyway, so we're just dropping a Butcher, hoping that those last 2 spells are not removal. And then we just slam in with the Butcher for a few turns. I have already cashed in on 1 removal spell. An Abzan Guide is not removal, and we have the Smite the Monstrous to kill that, so they aren't out racing us with lifelink. Happy to see that, and here's where Warshrieker is still going to get some value, because that extra 3 mana means I get to slam down the Warshrieker and still cast the Smite. Clear out that Abzan Guide, so our opponent is not gaining life here to get any breathing room against our Butcher. Alright, 3 turns to go for the Butcher to close it out single-handedly. And our opponent's going to dig for that removal, sack the Abzan banner, and cross their fingers. They found an act of treason, but this cannot sacrifice itself. So they are just going to jam in for damage here. Okay. I think we do like this here. You can sack for lifelink, since their Warshiker is going to die anyway. They choose not to. Alright, what a draw, good lord. Alright. 1 card in hand. What if they have another act of treason? That'd be pretty bad. But the only thing they can treason is the Butcher. And if they just treason the Butcher, we still kill them with the other cards. Like, we still block the Skull Hunter with our other cards, so we don't really end up taking more than 5. So yeah, another Active Treason, we're still winning. Right now, we're still in the lead. Dune Blast. Oh, what a groan test. Well, you got it. Probably win. Well, it's our first time we've gotten Dune Blasted. Hopefully it's the last, because that's just the grossest card in the format. Oops, I win. Blow up everything except my card every time. Yeah. We've got one more draw step. Okay. Congratulations on the Dune Blast opponent. We are 3-2 now. Rough one. I mean, we could have played around Dune Blast, I guess, but I do still think it was better to drop our High Sentinels out against almost anything else because they had that Active Treason. The Active Treason play is really what made it seem like they just had like some other damaging spell, like another Active Treason or an Arrow Storm to finish us off. But the Active Treason into Dune Blast to just completely flip directions of game plans from our opponent did really help disguise the one-sided board wipe, so I don't know, I guess we get got, but I think I played it fine. It's just disappointing to end that one like that. We are 3-2 heading into Game 6. Here we are on the play for Game 6 with terrible mana and terrible creatures. That's a mulligan. Whoa, what was that? Marina's trying to pre-tuck away the Arrow Storm from his hand. And is also really bad mana, but if I get rid of the Bondkin, this is a colorless spell, so we go 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop, 5-drop off of just red-black. Don't think I can really afford to mold a 5, so we'll take that, I guess. Well, this is not looking good. Hit another white spell here. Multiple regenerating dorks from our opponent, and all I can draw are off-color spells. Ooh, Chief of the Scale to sturdy up those little things. Now my Valley Dasher has to chump attack into the Chief. At least we found the white source, but this is a terrible start. Seeing the 2-3 to eat the Valley Dasher. Could block one Kintree Warden there, but I imagine they've got like Awaken the Bear or something for +3/+3 trample if that's how they're playing. Although it's probably still worth a block, because getting them to spend mana on a combat trick instead of another creature slows down their board. Makes it take longer to get farther ahead. That's disgusting. Incremental growth is kind of like Overrun, where it just makes your board insane, and you just like take your opponent all the way to Pound Town after that, and demolish them. I take 8 here. Unless I trump with this one, it doesn't even kill anything. Yeah, this looks pretty over. Our Morph can't kill anything on blocks. All I can do is kill the 3/4 and then chump one of their 2 creatures. Or I cast a War Shrieker and go for 2 blocks this turn, where War Shrieker kills the Chief of the Scale and the 2/2 chumps. Literally either way, the 2/2 chumps and one of my other cards deals with one of their threats. Okay. And now is where we die to the Awaken the Bear? No. So I could have played this one out slightly better. I think all we really could have done was just block a 1-1 one more time than we ended up doing. So we could have been at 5 instead of 4. But that's still lethal, even if we were at 5. So we couldn't have affected the outcome of this game at all. Just a guaranteed loss, which I think is the same as our second round for the most part. If I just had omnipotent, perfect information that my opponent had Dune Blast in hand, we could have won round 2, but I really don't think there was any way to know that with confidence, especially with what their previous turn was, where they were just trying to get max damage out of active trees and really making it look like they're trying to outrace us, rather than grind out some kind of Dune Blast victory. I don't think there was any way to see the Dune Blast coming and play around that one in our second loss. But our first loss was self-imposed, so I think the only thing we could have really done differently today at all was mulligan in the first game that we lost. And when I say could have, I mean should have mostly. I don't think, with the information we had at the time and with the way that our opponent was playing, I don't think that dropping the high sentinels was the wrong play. It just played out badly for us. Deck building wise, Dragon Throne did stone cold nothing and Smite was very narrow, as was the Rush of Battle. So I would have liked to have some other cards in the deck over these to improve the deck the most. I think those were the biggest underperformers by far. And really the room for improvement in the deck is swapping these out for better non-creature spells. If we could have found some of those, maybe another Arrow Storm Feat, anything like that, would have been pretty nice. Overall, I think the deck was okay. I mean, it looked kind of mediocre when we looked at it, but it played out better than I thought it would, where those losses just really felt like just getting blown out for the most part, which can happen to just about any deck. So I think the deck performed better than I thought it would in terms of how it felt to play. In terms of the record, about where I thought we'd land here at 3-3. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in a recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below, and if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.